on this episode of Indiana Education Insight.
But then also helping those new teachers to develop in the ways where they felt they were lacking when they were getting to the stressful moments of their first year.
Right.
If they didn't know different constituents of the school system,
Sure.
and those kind of things, we would make sure to introduce them to all aspects of the school district. And I agree with you.
Every week, the Indiana Association of Public School Superintendents is taking you inside today's Indiana education collaboration and tomorrow's education trends. We're staying on the pulse of public school innovators throughout Indiana and beyond. Join our conversation and contribute to our upcoming topics at iapssin.org/podcast. Here's your host, Dr. J.T. Koopman.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of Indiana Education Insight. I'm Dr. J.T. Koopman, Executive Director of the IAPSS. Our weekly show features Indiana education innovators from all over our great state, discussing trending topics in the public education space, and bringing in a variety of Indiana education innovators to hear their perspective. This show is brought to you by our IPSS team and produced by our friends at Site Strategic's Edge Media Studios. We're always excited to hear from experienced and passionate educators. So let's get started with today's conversation.
Topics and trends in Indiana education.
Today's guest is Dr. Karen Dowling, Associate Dean of the School of Graduate and Continuing Education at Olivet University. Dr. Dowling has been a teacher, a professor of educational leadership in various Indiana universities, so she has been instrumental in shaping the conversation about Indiana public schools, and she has the ability to look at education from various lenses, which is very important. So let's find out how she views the issues in Indiana public schools. So Dr. Dowling, we welcome you. We're excited to have you on our show today. And if you could get started by telling us a little bit about Olivet University and the various roles that you play as a leader in the university.
Thank you. Yes, at Olivet Nazarene University, I'm the Associate Dean for what is now called the Institute for Education and Teacher Excellence. And we are housed in Indianapolis as our regional campus, but we have a main campus, a residential campus for Olivet Nazarene in Bourbonnais, Illinois. And our programs for graduate level education, we are named ONU Global. So we have centers in the Chicago suburbs areas, and as well as Grand Rapids, Michigan, and then Indianapolis.
Okay, great. And you've been with the university now for how long, and how long has this Indianapolis campus existed?
Yes, I'm in my third year there leading graduate programs in education. And I should mention what we have. We have programs for literacy, reading specialists, and English language learners, curriculum and instruction, Master of Arts in Education. We have driver's ed and teacher leader endorsements that are Illinois only. And for Indiana specifically, I'm excited to say we have ethical building leadership and English language learner additions for licensure and full programs for masters.
Okay, great.
And we've been in Indianapolis, I believe, about 4 to 5 years, and with my role going there in about 3 years ago.
Okay. Well, knowing your background and the amount of work that you have done with other universities, I can understand why Olivet wanted to capture all of your experience as a leader here in the Indianapolis area. So welcome to the program and to Indianapolis.
Thank you. It's a nice full circle moment for me because my first teaching job was at North Central High School in Indianapolis. So I'm back to the area.
Okay. Well, great. You have an interest in helping Indiana school leaders in a variety of ways. Can you tell us what your primary focus is in working with these students?
Yes. So since we're graduate level programs, my primary role is to help practicing teachers that are actually in the school context to obtain licensure additions or endorsements that they desire to help with their students and the needs of their students. So with reading specialists, that's a high need area for literacy and people wanting to obtain the training and the theory behind being a reading specialist or a reading coach in their schools. But then also I'm tasked with leading our EDD task force, where we are doing a re-innovation or a new pathway for our EDD program in ethical leadership. And we're looking at new terminology, but also new practices for it. And that's actually going to be housed for the residential components in Indianapolis. So we're very excited about that, to obtain candidates from all over the nation and maybe even globally, but they will come to the Indianapolis area when we have face-to-face meetings.
Okay. Do you do much with online classes?
Yes. Most of our programming is online, and we do still have in the Chicagoland area, we have a lot of face-to-face cohorts that are still going because we have partnerships with schools there, and they either require a face-to-face component or they prefer it as a cohort. And so we do offer those, but mostly we have online programming.
Okay. As a Christian university, are your priorities a little bit different, or do you have some initiatives that actually speak to that component of the university?
Yeah, we are a Christian private institution, but we exist in the education programming to help our public school P12 candidates to be able to work within their context. And so what we have are 3 pillars for Olivet Nazarene University, and those are personal development, professional readiness, and lives of service, and that's to God and humanity. And so I feel that our programming, especially with my passion of non-mainstream student focus and racial, ethnic diversity, I feel like we are trying to prepare our graduates or our candidates for the realities of the school context that they will be in. So personally developing them, knowing their leadership styles, knowing who they are as practitioners, professional readiness. We align our programs with the state standards and the elements of the standards, and we give them practical experiences like internships. They have mentors, clinical experiences of all kinds, and then lives of service. We're hoping that the collaboration with families, with community organizations, all that you know as superintendent and the school board association and principal associations have to work with all the different entities, so do our classroom teachers. And so we're hoping to instill lives of service and that development in them through our programming.
You mentioned mentoring. Is that mentor part of their internship, or is that an external mentor? How does that mentoring program work?
Actually, they can choose who their mentor would be. And so that could be someone that is a direct supervisor of theirs, or they could be somewhere else in another building, or someone that they look up to their leadership style.
Sure.
So for our ethical building leader program specifically, they're choosing that building level mentor, and then that person is working with them side by side, as well as our instructors. And then we have seminars that are involved in the program with some professionals that are very experienced in the content, and so they will have the opportunity then to work with those professionals as well.
Okay. Well, I happen to think that mentoring component is extremely important, whether you're a teacher, an administrator, or a superintendent. And at least the research is indicating that the longevity of the individual and the ultimate success of the individual is extremely reliant upon that successful mentoring component.
Yes,
So
I would agree. And that when I was actually doing my internship for my administrative license and master's program, I had a passion for the mentoring program, and actually had taken one through the state as a teacher in the classroom to help mentor novice teachers. And so I was able to pull some of that I learned in that program and bring that to the experience that I was having as a future administrator.
Sure.
And so one of the things that we did, we had a new teacher group, and it was kind of a personal development moment for people, as well as scholarship and professional readiness, and reading articles and the latest trends, and talking those issues over together, but then also helping those new teachers to develop in the ways where they felt they were lacking when they were getting to the stressful moments of their first year.
Right.
If they didn't know different constituents of the school system, and those kind of things, we would make sure to introduce them to all aspects of the school district. And I agree with you. Then that was very helpful to those teachers and to me when I was a new teacher and going through a similar program, to be able to have that longevity, to feel like you had a strong foundation for where you were serving those students.
I absolutely agree with that. We realize that there's a teacher shortage. Now, whether or not others want to recognize that, we certainly know what the pipeline looks like and what the pipeline used to look like. Can you share with us what you see as the future for our Indiana school leaders?
Yes, I think there's so many aspects to what our school leaders are facing each and every day, and we know that when they're in the fray, they are very busy people, and they have so many different people to answer to. But first and foremost, I think we have to keep our students as the focus. And so with that, we are facing an influx in the research and, in my opinion, of refugee students, English language learners.
Absolutely.
Our students are more transient now, and we have a lot more homelessness that we're facing. And so dealing with those issues, I feel like we need to help our counselors with that preparation. And in the same vein, I have a junior in high school right now, so I'm facing these issues. We need to help our school leaders know how to better prepare our non-mainstream students for either vocational or college readiness. And I'm talking anything from how to obtain financial aid, or working with those families on scholarship preparation, helping them with their service initiatives in the school, and how to be able to apply for their different jobs or their college experiences, and have things on there besides a GPA or grades in a class to show for their experiences in high school. But we're talking all, P12, not just high school. And so I would say that cultural competence for me is a major emphasis on what our leaders are facing, and how to just work with families, how to work with students and all their different needs. We have a lot of students with exceptionalities. We have a lot of students and parents requesting the ability to focus on the gifted and talented population. And then that dual credit issue of helping college become more affordable for our families, and preparing our teachers to be able to offer those kinds of courses. So there's just a lot that is on the plate of a school leader, but we need to work with them in being able to handle the issues that our students are bringing into the classroom from their cultural backgrounds and experiences.
Right. I absolutely agree with you. Are there any other priorities or initiatives that are going on at Olivet that you'd like to mention?
Well, with the Ethical Building Leader program, one of the initiatives that I find just absolutely fascinating is that we are able to partner with local schools, and we just recently did that with Perry Township. And so what was so exciting about that opportunity for us is that there was a way to, in keeping in alignment with the state standards and expectations for teachers and teaching professionals, but as well as the building leader standards, we also are able to customize to their needs. And so they have a large population of Burmese students
Yes.
and other racial and ethnic groupings,
Right.
and their families as well. In collaboration with them, there's a lot going on there. So with that, we're talking about customizing to the needs of those future building leaders,
Right.
so that we can help Perry Township and other schools that are interested in growing their own leaders. And then also being able to take their practical experiences and applying them right away in their classroom with their classroom strategies. Some may want to have a building leader, a principal license, but not leave the classroom context. And so we want to help them apply those principles and that content to their areas, to their content areas. And so that's exciting. And as well as we have English language learner program, and that is dealing with methods and assessment and
Right.
cross-cultural studies and linguistics for our teachers to kind of build their knowledge and their foundation of how they teach their discipline and utilize those strategies.
Okay.
So that's exciting, as well as we're looking into some initial licensure and dual credit opportunities so that we can help those paraprofessionals and family members that already are there and maybe have a degree in a different discipline and want to contribute to the educational context.
Right.
So we're looking into that.
Well, I love all of those things, and they're certainly all relevant for our school district leaders and our teacher leaders as well. So I wish you well with that
Thank you.
segment of the program. So in closing, any advice that you have for our current school leaders or our future school leaders?
Yeah, I actually had the opportunity to attend the school board and the joint conference with the school board and the superintendent associations. And what I would advise and suggest would be to continue to collaborate on behalf of Indiana students. I know with our education, multiple education pathways, new graduation requirements, and all that's going on with that, there is an opportunity for an elective pathway of sorts. And so I think that our school systems and our districts, if they can collaborate together to do what's best for kids as they move from district to district, or as they, maybe will struggle in this multiple pathway, that we can cohesively and together, provide them some positive pathways that they can be successful in.
Right. Well, we could carry on that conversation for quite some time because that's an interesting topic that you'll hear me comment on here in just a little bit. But I'd like to thank Dr. Dowling for being our guest on IPS's edition of Indiana Education Insight. Now it's time to wrap up this episode with my take on the current state of affairs in the Indiana education landscape.
Dr. JT's closing comments.
Unfortunately, after 6 hours of testimony by teachers, parents, principals, and superintendents who were asking for time to collaborate on the plan in a public meeting of the State Board of Education, who is attempting to implement the concepts of graduation pathways. On a vote of 7-4, they passed a set of all of the conceived and unvetted recommendations that will negatively impact our graduating students. Although the state legislators have called for less testing, this plan implements more testing, and the plan has no understanding of the fiscal impact. Or they want to assemble the plane as it flies, and we know it does not work that way. Additionally, it will negatively impact the graduation rates, which will create false criteria for telling us how our schools are succeeding and how our students are doing. It is my hope that we can get our legislators and our state leaders to see the value of public schools and the nexus of promoting public schools. I see these as investments in our children and in our state, not as an expenditure. Perhaps we can pursue this issue and others in another segment of Indiana Education Insight. On our next show, December 18th, we will welcome Mrs. Monica Conrad, a school attorney with Lewis and Kappas. Perhaps she can provide some additional insight into the State House and education. Join us for that and more on the next Insight into Indiana Education. Thanks for being part of education. Please stand up for Indiana Public Schools.